Here we are, born to be kings. We're the princes of the
Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of Age of the Realms. This is a series of Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle reports. This is episode number 36. It is a 1500 point battle that is fought between Free Peoples and Stormcast Eternals. My friend King Khalifa is bringing his Schwarzwald Free Companies, and they're going up against my Lords of Azure Skies. So we're playing in a battle for the past scenario, so with that being said, we're going to play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for each of the armies, go ahead and pause and check out your own leisure. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll. So the scenario rules for this one is Battle for the Pass. What ends up happening is there are 4 objectives on the battlefield, and the objective is to control as many objectives as possible to earn the max amount of victory points. There's one objective in each of the different deployment areas, and if you seize one of those, you seize your enemy's objective that's located in their deployment area, you secure 4 victory points for yourself. If you go after one of the 2 secondary objectives, then worth 2 victory points apiece. And of course, after you seize the objective, after that point, it's just fighting out to see who is left standing with the most objective points. Alright, so now to the battle plan. As you can see, we're playing on a 4x4 table. My buddy King Khalifa's military forces are deployed on the left-hand side, while my forces are deployed on the right-hand side. Pretty much what my plan is to actually kind of stay my ground and just hold on to my objective area. My plan is to have my opponent march across the battlefield, closing distance between me. He does have a lot of ranged weapons within his army, but they have a little bit shorter range. So my plan is to shoot him down with some shooting of my own, as well as using some of the hero abilities for my different hit leaders, so that way I can kind of wield down his forces by the time they get within range. After that, my plan is to then deep strike my units into the different objective areas and hold on to those objectives, and then piecemeal fight his army at different points, hopefully just kind of whittle them down. And that's pretty much the battle plan I'm kind of going with on this one. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about deployment real quick. So as you can see here, I have my entire Celestial Vindicators army laid out. Up in front, I have my judges. That's a unit of 10 liberators, acting as kind of like a phalanx and a shield protecting the main body of my army. Right behind them, I have the jury, which are my 5 judicators. Those guys are armed with skybolt blows, so that way they can get some long-range shooting in. On the left-hand side in the back, that is Orion the Sky Hunter. That's my Knight Venator, so that way you can take some good shots with my adjudicators. Next to him on the right-hand side is my Knight Vexilor. That's the Stormbringer. He's just kind of there as a Horus the Stormbringer, actually. He's there to like lend support for my troops. And then right in the middle there, that is Jericho the Doomcaller. That's my Knight Heraldor, so that way he can do some shooting with his Trumpet Blasts. And on the right hand side, of course, is Icarus the Lamplighter. That's my light. Is Azeroth, so that way he can give buffs to my shooting units within my army. And then right in the back, of course, the man himself, Lord Ios of Azure Earth. That's my Lord Celestial Andre Koth to lend support. The rest of my army, which is the Witnesses, my 6 Prosecutors, as well as Lord Grim, my Lord Relictor, and my Executioners, my 5 Retributors. Those guys are right now up in the heavens, so that way they can use the Scion of the Storm ability to ride down the lightning and to land different objectives on the battlefield. Meanwhile, across the battlefield is King Khalifa's forces. On the left-hand side, he has the Panzer Bearing make up his very far left-hand flank. That's where his steam tank is located at. At the top of that tower, he has both Blitzen and Donner, which is his cannon, as well as Hellblaster volley gun with their associated crews. And on the right-hand side of that tower, you can see his Lord Ordinator, that's Lord Pharos. And on the other side of that tower is Gretchen von Koenigsmark, his gunmaster. And then right in front, of course, he has a unit of 20 handgunners. Those guys are Rommel's Rangers, as well as a huge horde of 40 halberdiers from the Free Guard Guild, and his generals right in the back as well with his stately war banner. And finally, on the far right-hand flank, he has another unit of 20 handgunners. That's the Yellow Company, and those are 20 handgunners located there as well. So, with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and we roll for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so we start off with turn number 1 for the Stormcast Eternals. The very first thing we do is go directly into the hero phase, and I use my general's command ability so that way units within 24 inches of him don't have to worry about taking battle shock tests, which is going to be kind of important because I am fighting against a Free People's army, and shooting is what they basically do best. Aside from that, I don't really move any of my forces around because there's no need for me to move, so I just keep all my forces exactly where they're located at. In the shooting phase, I concentrate fire with Orion the Sky Hunter as well as my jury. I managed to kill 5 members of the Yellow Company as well, so that's 5 less handgunners I gotta worry about. Which is also kind of nice because they also lose their -1 to hit ability because they no longer have 20 plus models within their unit. And in the battle shock phase, I think they lose 3 more members of their company as well, so that ended up being really good for me as well. And that pretty much makes up a pretty eventful turn number 1 for the Stormcast Eternals. So we go directly to the bond on turn number 1 for the Free Peoples. During the hero phase, he doesn't really use any of his command points in order to use his command abilities because his one command ability requires him not to move, and clearly he wants to close a distance to me. So this photo is taken directly after the move phase. As you can see, that huge tidal wave of humans start making their way across the battlefield. The first thing he does, he actually advances forward with his Black Company. All 40 Free Guild halberdiers roll, I think, 5, so they move forward up to 10 inches, securing the little area in the center there between the forests. And then he just moves up the normal 5 inches for each of his handgunner units as well. Rommel's Rangers move up to the right hand side, while the Yellow Company moves up to the left hand side. He only moves up their normal movement allowance because he wants to shoot them as well. At the same time, he also moves up the Panzer Bearing. I believe he moves that forward 8 or 9 inches, so that way it's in range with all of its firepower against my assembled Stormcast Eternal Phalanx there on the right hand side. And that pretty much makes the move phase for this one. Here's a close-up of the Panzer Baron as well as Rommel's Rangers getting ready to bring the pain to my army. And here's a close-up of the Black Company as well as the Yellow Company getting ready to move over onto the right-hand side of the battlefield. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. As you can see in this photo, the shooting phase is absolutely terrifying. He opens up with both units of handgunners, also his steam tank, as well as his cannon, as well as his Hellblaster volley gun, and all those units converge their fire onto my unit of Liberators. Managed to wipe out all 10 of those guys in just the opening phase. I lost so many guys in that unit, I didn't really actually have time to battle shock phase it because all those guys were just shot to pieces, and that was absolutely terrifying to see the amount of firepower that this army could bring bear onto my units. So I'm thinking staying there where I'm located at and just maintaining my position is a really bad idea because now I'm just a sitting duck and my opponent's just going to shoot at me the entire time, so that was absolutely terrifying. Like I said, there is no real need for a battle shock phase because my unit of Liberators just got wiped off the face of the planet, and it just happened just that quick. Alright, so with fear in my heart, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Stormcast Eternals. Once again, I use my command ability, the Lord of the Hosts, to make sure that no units within 24 inches have to take battle shock tests because after watching the power of the Free People's army just blow apart my Liberators, that was absolutely terrifying. So that pretty much makes the hero phase on this part as well. So with the hero phase, over the hero phase, I then activate Horus the Stormbringer. I decided to use his Meteoric Banner ability to target both the Black Company as well as Rommel's Rangers. As you can see in that photo, I managed to cause 3 mortal wounds to both units, so that part was kind of awesome as well. I kind of picked a point right in between the 2 units, and I think I rolled like a 7, so everything within 7 inches of that point ended up getting those 3 mortal wounds, which is pretty awesome as well. So a little bit of payback for my Liberators that just got shot off the table. So with the hero phase over with, we go directly to the movement phase. As you can see in this photo, I basically use my Signs of the Storm ability to bring in the rest of my units. First of all, I deploy Lord Grim, my Lord Relictor, as well as my Executioners, my 5 Retributors. I use them to secure my enemy's objective, so that way by the end of the battle report I can net myself 4 victory points. At the same time, I also bring in my Witnesses as well. They kind of fall in right behind with my where my Lord Relictor and my Paladin Retributors are located at, over the left hand side, because I plan on using those guys to start harassing the war machines that my opponent has located on top of his tower. Meanwhile, my infantry forces on the right hand side of the board, I keep them exactly where they're located at, because I need to have my enemy focus on something and have a solid base of fire to catch his army into a crossfire. And that pretty much makes my move phase for this one. Here's a close-up of my Judicators as well as my leaders just holding their ground, so that way they can make a good base of fire to open up on the Schwarzwald Free Companies. And here's a close-up of my Witnesses as well as my Executioners and Lord Grim riding the lightning down to occupy my opponent's deployment area. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. So the first thing I do is I target the war machines with my pair of celestial hammers from my prosecutors. I only managed to kill 1 crewman. It was absolutely horrible, the number of fails I made with those dice, which is really, really bad. Most of my shots missed. I think 2 shots finally hit and only 1 wound, killing 1 of the crew members, but that was absolutely demoralizing seeing that take place. In the shooting phase, I open up with Lord of Azure Skies. I use a Storm Breath ability. I put it directly on the point between both the Rommel's Rangers as well as the Halberdier unit that's above it. Managed to put 3 mortal wounds onto Rommel's Rangers, so that part was kind of cool, bringing up their total loss of models to 6. As you can see in this photo with the Black Company, I also managed to put 3 mortal wounds with that Storm Breath ability as well. I then also used Jericho the Doomcaller's Trumpet ability as well to put 3 more mortal wounds onto this unit, bringing it to a total of 6. And then I concentrate fire with my 5 Judicators, who ended up causing 8 wounds total to this unit as well. So that part was really awesome as well, bringing up the total number of units that they lost for this army for 14 casualties. So that was excellent to take down and kind of whittle down this unit for the Free Peoples. At the same time, I also take aim with Lord Orion the Skyhunter, have him open onto the Yellow Company up here in the top, manage to cause 5 more wounds onto that unit as well. So that part was pretty outstanding to see that take place as well. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to charge phase. As you can see in this photo, I do send in my prosecutors to go after Gretchen von Koenigsmark, the Gunmaster. Hopefully it can debuff the artillery units they have on top. And as you could probably guess, my units had no problem just chopping down that engineer with no problem, so that part was pretty cool as well. So with that, we go to the Battle Shock phase. Rommel's Rangers do lose a couple more handgunners due to morale tests that they failed, but the other units that took casualties, they actually stood their ground because of the stately Warbanner ability that the general had. King Khalifa used that for his general, and he managed to roll 2 1s for both of his units as well, so because of that, no one flees. And that pretty much makes up turn number 2 for the Stormcast Eternals. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Free Peoples, and this photo is taken after the hero phase. Once again, my opponent decided not to use any of his command points for his hero because it really doesn't make sense for him to do so. So because of that, not really much happens over there. But during the move phase, there's been some real dramatic movement taking place for his army. At this point, my opponent decides to divide up his forces. The first thing he decides to do is move up the Panzerbear, I think it moves up another 8 inches, getting even closer to my main battle lines over here on the right-hand side of my army. At the same time, he also moves up his handgunner units to seize both the objectives in the middle of the table. And he also makes them turn 180 degrees so that way they can take aim with their guns against my executioners located on the left-hand side of the table as well. At the same time, he also moves back his just normal moon allowance, his entire Black Companies. That huge tidal wave of Free Guild Halberdiers as well as the generals start making their way towards my Retributors in order to take back their objective as well. And that pretty much makes the move phase for the Free Peoples on this one. Here's a close-up of the Rommel's Rangers as well as the Panzerbearing dividing and conquering in order to bring their long-range firepower to bear. And here's a close-up of the Black Company as well as the General Hans Dieter getting ready to cause the pain for my Retributors here on the left-hand flank. And finally, here's a close-up of the Yellow Company seizing the other objective and also bringing their guns to bear against the Retributors as well. So with move phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. So, during the shooting phase, my opponent King Khalifa takes aim with both his steam tank as well as Dawn of the Cannon and open up onto my Judicators. Managed to wipe out all 5 of my long-range firepower. Those cannons just destroyed that unit like it was nobody's business. I think he managed to cause 11 wounds totals when he managed to cause that unit, just wiping that unit off the face of the planet. Once again, just showing how powerful shooting is for the Free Peoples. Then to make matters worse, he then takes Blitzen, his Hellblaster volley gun, and opens up onto my prosecutors, managed to kill 3 of my witnesses as well, leaving only 2 left over, so that was horrible. And then his 2 units of handgunners concentrate fire onto my retributors, managed to kill 2 of those guys, causing 6 wounds total. So that shooting phase is absolutely terrible. It cut most of my units down in half, as well as completely destroyed my Judicator unit. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to the charge phase. And as you can imagine, he sent the entirety of the Black Company charged directly into my last 3 retributors as well. And to make things worse, because he only has 1 unit in close combat, that unit gets to go first in close combat. And as you can see, just the sheer number of halberdiers chopping at my retributors, which is too much for them to take, managed to kill all 3 of my retributors that survived, leaving Lord Grim all alone to face this huge tidal wave of destruction that's coming his way as well. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the battle shock phase. And to add insult to injury, when I rolled my 6-sided dice to see exactly how many of my prosecutors just ran away, I roll a 6, meaning my last 2 prosecutors decide to heli on and not to stand their ground because they just got wiped out by a Hellblaster volley gun, and that's what they kind of do best. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn 3 for the Stormcast Eternals. And it's at this point in the battle report I realize I'm kind of panicking because I really don't have much going on. The only really thing I can do is I kind of hesitate is what I end up doing. I really can't move any of my forces. My forces are two-way spread out. I don't have very much to work with, so I decide just to keep my units exactly where they are, and then just try to block that steam tank from running over my guys. Hopefully the wrong range shooting of my units as well as my hero abilities can actually cause some things to happen. So in the hero phase, I decide to activate, of course, the Lord of the Host ability onto my units so that no one will have to run away for battle shock tests. And the left hand side, I use Lord Grim's Lightning Storm ability to dish out 3 more mortal wounds against the Black Company, which is basically just a spit in the ocean because these guys are free peoples and horde armies is what they kind of do best. So in the move phase, the only real movement that takes place, I send my knight Azeroth, Icarus and Lamplighter. I move him up closer to get towards the Panzerbaron, or hopefully I can charge into him. Hopefully I can also use my lantern as well to cause some problems for that guy, and hopefully cause some damage on that steam tank because I really have nothing to kind of deal with that steam tank at this point. Here's a close-up of Icarus the Lamplighter getting ready to charge directly into the Panzerbaron because I really have no other options at this point. During the shooting phase, I concentrate fire with both Jericho the Doomcaller as well as Lord Ios of Azure Earth. Managed to cause 6 mortal wounds onto Rommel's Rangers, so bringing that unit down to 5 people, which is really awesome because now these guys are down to a manageable size. And Orion the Realm Hunter, the Sky Hunter, he takes aim with his fate-shotted arrow, takes aim at the enemy General Dieter Munz, opens fires on him, and manages to kill that guy right off the board. So that part was pretty powerful as well, so I was pretty happy about that part. In the charge phase, I decided to charge in my knight Azeroth. Icarus and Lamplighter goes directly into the Panzerbaron. Now, it may seem like a foolish idea to do that, but the reason why I do this is because I want to see exactly what my knight Azeroth can do. I want to see how he can kind of stack up in close combat, because I never really got to use this guy last time in my last battle report, so I want to see exactly what he does in close combat. And so because of that, I just want to see what happens. And in the preceding combat phase, I see exactly what happens. My knight Azeroth suffers 4 wounds while I only managed to dish out 2 wounds onto the Panzerbaron. And at this point I realized that a knight Azeroth is really meant for supporting units more than actual fighting, so because of that, that did not go out very well for my unit at all, so that was pretty horrible to see that happen. In the battle shock phase, however, Rommel's Rangers do flee off the table, so that part's kind of cool, leaving the objective number 2 right in the middle of the table free to anyone to grab, so that part was pretty awesome. However, the Black Company, nobody flees because that's just the way these guys roll. So that pretty much makes it my turn on this one. So that being said, we go directly to bottom of turn for the Free Peoples. So we skip the hero phase for the Free Peoples because all the heroes are pretty much dead, and we go directly to the bottom of the turn. So as you can see in this photo, the only thing that really happens is any dramatic movement takes place. The Black Company just kind of stays where they're at because they plan on charging Lord Grim here in a little bit. They just actually move up a couple inches, just so they're within 3 inches of my Lord Relictor as well. And Panzerbaron, of course, stays his ground because engaged in close combat with my knight Azeroth, and of course the lonely last remnants of the Yellow Company at the table, the top of the table, just maintain their position on the objective that they're holding. However, the shooting phase takes over. My opponent takes the Yellow Company, which is the remnants of the handgunners. They open up on Lord Grim, and unfortunately for me, I was unable to make any of my saving rolls. So because that, Lord Grim dies a horrible, horrible death, being shot to pieces by Imperial handguns. At the same time, Panzer Baron takes a steam gun and manages to melt my Lord Azeroth right out of the sky using a bunch of steam to just melt him back to his basic elements. And since that unit is now dead, that kind of frees up his Great Cannon, so because of that, Dawn of the Cannon, as well as Blitzen the Hellblaster Volley Gun, and the Panzer Baron take their heavy artillery and take aim at my main battle lines on the right hand side. And they managed to kill off my Lord Ios of Azure Earth, my general. Managed to pop that guy off the table as well. At the same time, my opponent took the long rifle that's on top of the Panzer Baron, takes aim at the Realm Hunter for Lord Orion, the Sky Hunter. Managed to put 2 wounds on him as well. So that was absolutely terrifying just to see that happen. And it's at this point I realized there's no way I'm going to be able to win this game, so because of that, I just automatically surrender, because if not, I have nothing else, and my rest of my gadgets get a shot at the table. So that's good to do for this one, you guys. This one is officially over, so with that being said, we're going directly to the after action report.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
Alright folks, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn from the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for Age of the Realms battle report number 36, and ended up being a defeat for yours truly. In the end, when it came to the victory points, I managed to score 4 victory points for controlling my own objective. However, King Khalifa won 4 victory points for controlling his own objective, and also 2 extra victory points for controlling secondary objective as well. For my losses, I lost Lord Ios of Azure Earth, my witnesses, my executioners, the judges, the jury, as well as Icarus the Lamplighter. King Khalifa, on the other hand, lost Dieter Moons the Griffin Guard, Gretchen von Konismark, as well as Rommel's Rangers. In the end, shooting in a free people's army is absolutely terrifying. There is no tolerance to the amount of firepower these guys can dish out if they want to, especially if they decide to go with a purely shooting kind of list. It's absolutely terrifying to see how much damage those guys can dish out. And cannons. Cannons are still as terrifying as they were in previous editions of Warhammer, and it's perfectly understandable to understand why these cannons are so deadly, and that's because they need to be, because free people armies are very weak. They're also not very tough. They don't really put out a lot of damage, so when they do put out the damage in their artillery, you should always be bringing artillery support for a free people's army. They needed to buff out their infantry units just straight up. Prosecutors are still kind of a disappointment for me. I thought maybe bumping up their numbers might change things, but it really didn't do much of anything for them. What I'm actually thinking about doing is actually running my Knight Azeroth with that unit, so that way they get the bonuses to reroll ones, as well as the other bonuses from using his Lamplighter ability. And so because I'm going to plan on using him next time to stick with my prosecutors to kind of buff him up a little bit, hopefully that will kind of change things for me. Kind of gives bonuses for shooting as well as fighting against enemy units in close combat. Another reason why I lost this battle report too is because I was just being non-aggressive. I should have been more aggressive. I was playing too defensively. When you're fighting against a shooting-based army, being aggressive is the only thing you really can do to kind of turn the tide. And since I'm playing Celestial Vindicators anyways, standing back and like shooting at long distance against my opponent is not what they're designed to do. They're designed to bring it to the fight, to the enemy's faces, and to smash their faces in with a Warhammer. So that's what I gotta do with that next time. All in all though, I'm still loving this army. I'm pretty happy with the performance this army has. I think I just need to sharpen up my game, learn my rules a little bit better, and just become more aggressive with them, and maybe that might change the tide. Once again, this was a fun game playing against an awesome opponent. I love playing against King Khalifa, and I'm looking for the rematch against his army as always. That's good for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to comment, like, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated. Also, check us out on Facebook, Google+, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest and greatest news about our hobby. That's good for this one, you guys. You guys stay classy. Peace out.